Hi, I'm Amy and this is A Star Reads, and I'm going to do my Sunday sum up. So I didn't get to do one last week. I was really busy with Gish, which is the greatest international scavenger hunt, and we did okay. We had fun. We got a lot of things accomplished. I think I got 14 different challenges finished myself, and so that feels pretty good. And in between my book reviews today, I'll give you a little bit of footage of that. So this past week, I'm actually back out in the field, and we're doing habitat surveys, which is great, and it's been fun. I hurt myself. I hurt my leg, and so the last couple of days, I actually was trying to take it easy so I could rest up my leg, because we'll be back out in the field again next week. I've got that going on, and then this weekend is the fair. My aunt is really big in the 4-H, and she asked me to help her with I don't know what, but tomorrow we're actually working the hot dog stand. So we've got things going on. It's been busy. I obviously am not getting quite as much reading done as I would like, but I knew August was going to be a very busy month. And then as far as getting content out there, I'm going to try and just keep doing what I can do. I don't know that I'll be able to do a Sunday sum up next weekend. We'll just have to see, because I'm going to be out of town for next weekend, and I will actually be out of town the following weekend. So August is difficult, but I will try and do what I can and hopefully get some of these sum ups so you can at least see where my reading is at. Okay, so it's August 1st, and I finished my first book of the month, Crazy Rich Asians by Kwan, which was a 5-star book for me. I loved this, and I was a little nervous because I had heard mixed reviews. This was everything I was hoping for at this point. I guess because the way my year has been going, this ended up being perfect, because this is a modern day Jane Austen. This absolutely feels like reading a Jane Austen, but in the current time. You know, and a little more extravagant, I've got to be honest. I picked it up to start a series that is romance. However, as I was warned, this definitely takes more of a literary feel than a romance feel, which is absolutely true. This is much more along the lines of what you would expect reading from Jane Austen. So I really loved that, because you were looking at a portion of society that the author struggles with and is a part of, but doesn't necessarily agree with, or sees the underside of it, sees the flaws, sees the failures, sees the things that are positive, because there were definitely moments in here where there are good characters that you can tell, even though they do things that are a bit overly extravagant. They have people's best interest at heart. They haven't allowed the wealth to change who they are, change their principles. And so, of course, the social commentary in this is what made it for me. And learning about all these different characters was fantastic. There are so many different characters in this. There's so many different side stories, which I'm guessing is why he made it into a 3-part series. You get a little bit of resolution towards the end of this, but of course you don't get the ultimate resolution, so you're going to need to read the next couple of books to get that. There are characters in here that you hate. Most of the characters are flawed in some way, which is something that I appreciate, because it's much more realistic. Even the characters that you like have things they're struggling with, or moments where they are not forgiving, or there different things come up and you're like, that wasn't a good choice. But it's realistic. I mean, this is supposed to be a look at a portion of society in Singapore that is incredibly problematic and has a lot of issues, and it's something that people look up to so highly, especially in Singapore. You know, everybody wants to be part of these wealthy old rich families, and yet you see how flawed they are, and how this idolization of this group creates a really materialistic, ugly part of society. Like it unearths this part of humanity that you're like, this is so ugly. This is not what we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on the things that really matter. So many people's lives surround these aims and these dreams that ultimately have no meaning. They have no meaning, and they isolate and alienate so many people, and they're cruel. They're so cruel. They're cruel to spouses. They're cruel to people of lower classes. It's just really ugly. It gets really ugly. I really like that. I love legacy stories. I love where you're getting many different generations, perspectives from different people within the generation, seeing how the history of families affect the current people that are living. And it made me cry. It made me laugh. I loved this. Like I said, it was everything that I wanted right now. This wasn't necessarily a retelling, but it felt like a retelling, because it just was like Jane Austen, but today. I can't wait to read the next book. I know that this next month probably won't happen because I have so many books I need to read, but I'm kind of like, I'm ready to read the next one, because it's just the kind of book I feel like reading right now. And I guess I didn't tell you what it's about. But I kind of told you what it's about, right? It's mostly surrounding this girl named Rachel and her love interest, Nick. They've been together for 2 years. Everything is going beautifully. They are so in love. Nick's been pretty private about his family. Rachel knows so much about him, but that's one area of his life that she doesn't know much about. She's shocked at one point when he decides to invite her to Singapore with him for the summer to spend time with his family. And he doesn't tell her anything. And that's a problem because she's not really sure what to expect, but then also he comes from one of these crazy rich old money families and she's just thrown into the lion's den. And it's the story about her experience going to his best friend's wedding, because it's his best friend Colin Koo's wedding and he's the best man, and so she's going with him for the wedding, but then also to spend time with him over the summer in Asia to meet his family. So I will say that if you're looking at this as a romance series, it's not going to be that satisfying because it's not heavily based in romance. It is that look at this portion of society that believes it's above everybody else, and they have so much excess that they don't know what to do with themselves, that you're just competing to be the next biggest thing, and it's all about your place in society and who you are and who you accept into your life. And it was so good. It was so, so good. I just loved it. 5 stars. Mom made a little bark. She looks pissed. A little bark CC. Doesn't it look just like her? Can you tell which one's which? Hey, you. You. What are you doing? What are you doing?
May I shake your hand?
OG Winchester, I will miss thee. Catch you again in season 3 of The Boys Where You Are OG, cheering foes in the country.
Okay, so it is the 12th of August and I finally finished my second and third books of the month. There's a lot of reading that's been happening in the last couple of weeks, but not a lot of completion as far as reading goes. So I did finish Why Are All the Black Kids Staying Together in the Cafeteria by Beverly Daniel Tatum. This is for my nonfiction book club, which we have a meeting tonight, so we'll see how that goes. And I loved this. I'm gonna give it 5 stars. It's difficult because if I were to rate this based off how I feel at the very moment, I probably wouldn't give it a 5 star. However, this book from me would normally get a 5 stars. And if I had not taken the classes that I had this past term, this absolutely would have gotten 5 stars because it would have been so much new information. So this is basically a nonfiction book about race and identity, and especially with the lens of students and children, the development of identity formation when children are younger. This is why this leads to this phenomena of Black children sitting together in the cafeteria, because they're going through critical periods of life where they're looking at identity formation, and race has a lot to do with that, especially in a society where we treat different people of different races in different ways. And from a systemic viewpoint, children are seeing these differences at these young ages. It was just really so well done. I thought Beverly Daniel Tatum's writing was incredible. I love that she did a great job of giving her sources and making notes. So I actually ended up listening to this on audiobook, even though I have the book here. I listened to it, which was really nice because it was actually narrated by Tatum. And so I got to hear her perspective. Just like Becoming by Michelle Obama, there's something more powerful about hearing, especially when it comes to nonfiction, hearing the voice of the person who's giving you this information. You know, it's almost like taking a course from Beverly Daniel Tatum. I feel like if you're an educator, this is incredibly important to read. But even if you're not an educator, if you want to know more about identity formation, if you want to know more about race relations and the challenges that people are facing, especially as children, knowing what has happened in their life, seeing what's happening around them, seeing what's happening today. This is the 20th anniversary edition. For the first part of this is just a recap of what's happened in the last 20 years since Tatum actually wrote this book. And so you get to see how things have not been changing. And if things have changed, it's been minor, but in other areas, things have actually gotten worse. So I really liked reading this new 20th anniversary edition portion and getting a better understanding of the challenges that people face. I had read a couple reviews of people who were really upset about this book because they felt like she was trying to encourage students to segregate themselves. And there was a lot of comments that I felt were coming from a place of defensiveness and not trying to understand what her intentions behind this book were. I actually never got ever in this book that she was trying to encourage this concept of, self-segregation based off identity formation. She was just trying to show that these moments are going to happen and that students are going to come across things that they cannot deal with and understand unless they have support of people who can understand them. And so it makes sense to offer opportunities where students can come together and have support and feel like they have guidance and feel like they have people like them who are going through the same thing. And so I was really interested in seeing some of the negative reviews because I felt like those people didn't get the point, didn't capture the point of the intentions behind this book. The reviews I read were people who were really angry when this doesn't have anything to do with them and it has to do with trying to understand the people who are suffering, trying to understand it. And within our system, within our schooling system, where places aren't made specifically for these children to grow in ways that all children grow. All children grow in these ways. Come a certain age, adolescence, they hit adolescence, they start thinking of where they belong in the world, where they belong socially, where they belong culturally, where they belong economically. And all these things are really important factors for these students to understand and be able to express themselves and just feel free to talk about their insecurities, their feelings on the matter, how they feel their lives are being affected by the differences in this world. And so I really loved the way that Tatum expressed this information. And I felt like this was very on par with what I learned in my culture equity course that I took for education this past year. And so because of that, and because I'm still really drained from this last school term, which is sad, but it's true, and I have had a hard time reading nonfiction lately just because my brain is a puddle. It's just a puddle. I don't want to say this felt like a lot of the same thing, but this is exactly what I was learning about this last term. I love that she gives a lot of opportunities and examples for things that you can do as an educator or even within your family. If, say, you're an adoptive parent of transracial children, if you live in a community where there are children with other identities that don't seem like they have an outlet or anywhere that they can fit in, like these are places where conversations are important. Having a better understanding of the situation is important. And I loved that there was a book that talked about identity specifically. And I had a hard time with the concept of identity. I have a hard time myself because my identity to me feels like something that is just unique to myself. But there's a lot of influences on my life. My father was a refugee from Poland. My mother is part Nooksack Indian. We have a lot of other situations in our past that influence who we are today. And we really, really have a hard time looking at that and trying to understand it. When we can understand who we are and what identifies us as individuals, we can also then kind of understand how our perspectives and how our experiences influence how we behave and act towards other people around us. And that's really important for an educator because we're going into a class where we're getting students from so many different perspectives, so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures. We have to try and be one educator for all these children and be able to give them the best opportunity as children to learn, to grow, while having our limited experience. And so being able to establish your own identity and understand where your perspective comes from and what your limitations are is actually going to help you in the long run to connect to the people around you. And that's a big part of race relations, is actually being able to understand who you are and connect and respect to other people around you. And now all of a sudden I realize my voice is getting louder. I'm getting on my little soapbox. But I really do find it important. I think it's important for everybody. I think it's all important that we accept and acknowledge who we are individually, because then we will be more free to acknowledge and accept the people around us. read was for the book cover book club this month in August. The theme was Big Bloom. And so I chose a graphic novel, How to Be Happy by Eleanor Davis, because it has a giant flower on the cover. This is a very interesting graphic novel. However, in the beginning, the author does say this is not actually a book about how to be happy. And some of the reviews I saw were basically saying that the intention behind this is to show how some people have tried to approach the concept of being happy. So there's stories in here that are quite obvious as to, like, people do these things to make themselves happy or to make themselves happier. In the case where the stories really did make sense as to why she was including it in this book, I really enjoyed them. And there were some stories that I enjoyed more. These are like little short vignette stories. Like they're not very long, but they've got quite a few different ones. And the art style is a bit different in all of them. I guess what I can say about this is that, you know how art is very subjective. And when you look at a piece of art, you can appreciate the artist's work. But especially when it comes to like modern art or art that is a lot more avant-garde, you're gonna be like, wow, I really love this. This touches me emotionally. I'm so drawn into this. Or you're gonna be like, that's interesting, but it's not my taste. And so this feels like that in the sense that you're getting a perspective of somebody else's thoughts and brain and how they look at life and how they look at different ways they've seen people trying to be happy and how they interpret that. It feels very personal, and so it feels like you're getting a very personal look into what Eleanor Davis sees around her in the world and how she interprets different things. Except for a few of these stories, it doesn't really resonate with me. And so for this type of short story collection, I think it should resonate more for you as an individual to be able to appreciate it as much as you would a story. I don't know if that makes sense. I really don't know how to explain it better than that. It's not a very good explanation, but I think this would be a hard book to recommend because I feel like your own enjoyment of this would be dependent on how you feel about the subjects that Eleanor Davis brings up and how it connects to you personally. So, 3 stars. I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I really did enjoy her art style. I thought it was unique, and there were some stories in here that I got, like, and I appreciated and I enjoyed. And there wasn't any point in this that I was hating it or had to put it down. I found it fascinating. Just like I love going to art museums, whether or not I like the art, because I like to see what's out there and I like to see what other people have made, have created. I liked seeing it. I liked finding a few jewels in here that I really enjoyed, but ultimately it wasn't to my taste as much. of my subscribers, Brittany, who's also participating in the Lunar Long, messaged me and was like, I have some books I'm trying to unhaul. Would you like them? So she went through all the books that she had available, and I told her which ones I'd be interested in. And so she sent them to me in this box, and she said there's other goodies in here. So let's see what Brittany sent me. I haven't got a chance to open this yet. Life's been crazy, and I just haven't had a chance. So I'm gonna do that now with you. She said that the smell when I open it might be a little overwhelming. I don't know what that means, but we'll see. Oh, okay. One of the books she mentioned she had available was called The Ocean's Daughter by Madison Wade, and I was interested in this because I think it's about this girl who's living on a ship. Yeah, so she basically lives on this merchant ship called the Adventurer, and I think it has something to do with her family. But you know, I like books about ships, so I was like, oh, well, it's a book about a girl on a ship? Yeah, I'll try it out. And it's actually a really pretty cover, so I'm looking forward to that one. She also had The Scarlet Pimpernel by Baroness Orczy. And Orczy, is it Polish? And I have heard of this, and I figured, you know, it's a classic, might as well check it out. Haven't ever actually read the story, so that was one. I don't pass up too many classics. See what that's all about. And then there's this series, and I can't remember what the series is called, but I know Becca from Becca in the Books loves this series. She grew up reading this, and it's sort of like a coming of age series, so fun for young girls, adolescent age. When I saw Becca talking about it, I was really curious about it, and then when I heard that Brittany had this, I was like, oh, okay, this will give me a chance to read this series. So Angry Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging. It's okay, I'm wearing really big knickers. And Knocked Out by Nunga Nungas. So yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun. And this is by Louise Renison. So haven't read this series yet, but curious to check it out. Let's see. So the smell wasn't overwhelming when I opened it, but it looks like she gave me a whole bunch of goodies like cranberry pine candle. That's so sweet. Thank you so much, Brittany. You really didn't have to add these little extras to it, but I really appreciate it. It smells really good. So that'll be nice for the fall. Cranberry pine cranberry pine candle. Yeah, this is too early for me. Okay. Ooh, warm winter cider. These are the melts, which will be perfect because I actually have things. Why am I filming this time? I'm filming right now because it's Sunday morning and I got to edit this video, so I got to get this in. And that is, oh, and Zip Fizz. Oh, what is this? Oh, good. Energy. Little energy things to go into my water, which I always need these, especially after I do my plasma. So, perfect. Thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you for the books. I really appreciate them. And thank you for the little gifts. I love it. It's perfect. It's going to get me ready for the fall because I'm ready for the fall. Except for the school part. I'm ready for the rain. I miss rain. All right, so those are the 3 books that I read so far in August. I'm hoping that in this next week, I'll be able to focus on some of these and get them completed. So first, I'm about a quarter of the way through Incense and Sensibility. This is the most recent one from Sonali Dev. These are Jane Austen retellings, and I really liked the first 2 in the series, so I was excited to pick up this one, and a lot of other people are excited about it as well. So a lot of people are waiting on it at the library, so I haven't been able to renew it, and it's due yesterday. So I got to get this one done. And then one of my Trash My TBR books, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, is also due at the library. People want to read this one as well. And I'm about a quarter of the way through this one. These ones are my priorities at the moment. I need to get these 2 done. Then I got about 100 pages into Cinders, so I made a dent on this during our reading sprints this past week, so that helped out quite a bit. And this is a very fast read, so I don't think ultimately when I have a chance to sit down with this one, it won't take me very long. I also started The Obelisk Gate, which is the second in the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I am 76 pages into this. I need to make it through 130 pages by tomorrow. We'll see if that happens. But Liz from For Booking Out Loud is the person that I'm buddy reading this with, and she is very understanding. Then I have not made any progress in searching for Marilyn Monroe recently because I had to pick up other books. And I also put down Outlander as well, which is another one I was working on about the same time as this one. And those 2 I haven't been able to pick up yet since. But hopefully I'll be able to get to them soon. And then I also need to be making a dent in The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. and I haven't been able to pick up this one either. So those are all the books that I'm sort of currently actively reading. Oh, no, and I'm also listening to Catch-22 on audiobook. I'm about a quarter of the way through that one. So now that's all the books that I'm pretty much actively reading at the time. So that's where things are. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see more of my updates. I'm enjoying this style of wrap-ups. I really like it much better than a monthly wrap-up for myself. It's working out better. And I hope you're liking it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.